Welcome to the Ketovangelist Kitchen. I'm Brian.
And I'm Carrie.
And this podcast is dedicated to making things simple and easy for you in the kitchen. Carrie Brown is a classically trained, world-class chef who has a passion for creating ketogenic recipes that taste better than anything you've ever experienced. But more than that, she loves teaching people how to cook the right way.
And each week on this podcast, Brian and I discuss all the ways you can create awesome keto food that is guaranteed to make you a rock star in the kitchen.
If you'd like to learn more about Ketovangelist Kitchen, you can go to KetoVangelistKitchen.com and sign up for the newsletter.
In exchange for your email address, you'll get brand new recipes delivered to your inbox, ready for you to whip up in the kitchen and enjoy with your friends and family.
So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and learn. You're about to enter the Ketovangelist Kitchen. And hello again, every peoples. This is Brian, and that's Carrie.
Hello.
And you just walked into the Ketovangelist Kitchen. And
Woohoo!
What's going on, Carrie?
Lots of things are going on. It's a very going on kind of a week.
Is it?
Yes.
I, for the first time in my adult life that is not associated with the military, I have a passport now. I had to get a passport.
Yay!
And it has only reinforced my loathing of all things bureaucracy. So
you should try being an alien in a foreign country and trying to get a passport. I had weeks of fun with the British Embassy in Washington, D.C., trying to get a new passport as a Brit while I was in America. That was like no end of fun, I can tell you.
Is that because of the British bureaucracy or because of the United States bureaucracy?
It was the British Embassy.
So
it was unreal. They took my money, and of course, because I happened to be here and not in England, the cost to replace my passport was like, I mean, 1 billion times more. But the short story, and it had to do with my last name, because my last name changed,
which is not Brown at this time, right? In this story, your last name was not Brown.
No, in this story, my name was Brown.
Okay,
but
right.
They didn't consider my last name to be Brown, and so they took my money, which was not an insignificant amount of money. They took my money and then sent me a letter saying, we're not renewing your passport. And I'm like, and at the time I was not a US citizen. So I'm like, I'm living in a foreign country and I now cannot go home to England because I have no passport. Mm-hmm. And so how does this work? Because I can't leave here ever. I'm like trapped in America now because I can't get back into England because you won't give me a passport. I'm a British citizen. And then if I leave, I can't get back to America where I live because I'm not an American citizen, and without a British passport, I can't go anywhere. It was crazy. But they took my money and then politely told me that they weren't going to renew it, and I'm like, you can't not renew my passport, people.
Well,
because I'm stuck. Then I'm literally stuck.
At least they were polite, and at least they were polite about it in the proper British fashion.
My response to their polite letter was not so polite.
I'm not surprised to hear that. I wanna try to guess what your last name was at this before this that they had on their records. So I've got 2 guesses. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Leeuwenhoek. Is it close?
It has letters.
Okay, that's about as good as it gets. All right, second one is Vanderpeel.
It has letters.
Okay, so I'm off. All right. Have you heard of the movie The Terminal? You probably haven't because it's a movie and you're British.
That was Tom Thingy.
Tom Thingy, that's correct. Tom Thingy won several.
Tom Hanks?
Oh, yeah, okay. Different guy.
Was
yes.
it?
Tom Hanks was in the movie, yes. Are you familiar with the premise of the movie? Because basically it's the true story of Carrie Brown, only Tom Hanks plays the Carrie Brown character and is Russian.
And it was played out in an airport instead of in my house.
Correct. Right. Well, who knows? At this point, an airport could have been your house if things had gone differently. Like they were
Yes.
his.
Anyway, I did end up winning that battle because I pointed out to them very logically that they couldn't not send me a passport why my name was Brown.
You defeated the British Empire, is what you're telling me. You defeated the entire British Empire all by yourself.
I did. And shortly thereafter, I did get a new passport, so I can actually leave America now and visit England if I choose.
You are like Gandhi. Yeah. You're like Gandhi. You stood up to the British Empire, and you made them crumble.
It is actually quite unnerving to be in somebody else's country and not be a citizen, and then be refused a passport of a country where you are a citizen. It was actually like, well, darn, this isn't good. So anyway, I won that battle and I got my passport, and now I have an American passport too. So now I can go everywhere, and it's all goodness. But yeah, that was my whole point was you don't get to complain.
Well, so if I was
about your experience getting a passport,
yes, I do. But if I were to, because I'm thinking about what you're saying. Because I'm an American, and if I'm in a foreign country...
No, you're a Texan.
Well, okay. Texas first, then America, sure. So if I'm in a foreign country, I'm never worried because I'm an American. I never think, oh, I'm in a foreign country. I always think, oh, we could own you if we wanted to. That's all, this is how American-centric I am. I'm never concerned about anything. Of course, I never go anywhere, so that helps too.
Right. Yeah.
Which brings me to the point of my passport is I have to have one to get on a boat because I'm going on a cruise that requires a passport because there's the potential that those of us who get on this boat may get off in not America. So the world is basically categorized in two different ways. There is America and there is not America. And if you are in not America, apparently you have to have a passport in order to get into not America.
And to get back into America.
And to get back
if
into
you're
America.
Not America.
Yeah. So you also don't want to lose that passport whilst you are in not America is kind of the point.
And in fact, top tip, photograph the pages of your passport with your cell phone, just in case.
That's too much work.
Although you'll have to. This is for the listeners, not for you.
Okay.
Because even if it will really help you speed up the process of getting a new passport if you have a photocopy of all the pages with all those complicated letters and numbers and strings of blah and barcodes. It will really help if you have those pictures of that on your phone. So just that's a little top travel tip.
Do you know what they have now that I discovered because it's been so many years? When I was in the Air Force, I was issued a government passport. I never used it. No, I was issued it because there's something called an AOR, an area of responsibility. So the organization I was associated with, that I was assigned to, South America was our AOR. So there was a chance that I would have to go help run drug interdictions in Colombia or Venezuela or other South American countries.
Ooh, that's big. That's big, scary stuff. That is.
Well, it's not too bad, but that's why they gave us the passport. So I never actually had a passport. Well, they have these things now. They have a passport card. I don't know if people know this. I didn't know there was a thing. It's like a driver's license, but it's your passport. And drivers.
Yeah, I have one.
I had never heard of that before. So
But you have to drive. You can't fly somewhere with a passport card or boat somewhere with a passport card. You can only walk or drive with a passport card.
Well, I'm going to be doing neither. I'm not even sure if I'm getting off the boat. So
you can get into Mexico or Canada by walking or driving and not have a full passport, just have the little passport card. And that's why I have one, because, of course, I live so close to Canada that I regularly just drive across. And so I got a passport card because it's just easier
now, is that because,
than carrying a passport.
Is that because,
carrying a passport.
Is that because you're taking Canadian pharmaceuticals across the border? Is that why you're frequently going to and from? No.
No.
Are you part of an illegal moose importing ring?
No, no,
Okay.
I like Canada. I just like going there.
Do you
They
like-
have good chocolate.
Well, do you like Canada or do you like British Columbia? Because those are two very different
Well,
things.
I like British Columbia, but I also like Alberta. I haven't been to any other parts of Canada except those two, but I really like those two.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm thinking like, like anything north of like British Columbia, you're probably not going to be a fan of. But still, that's all Canada, Canada.
So, and I also have a passport card. This is for any expats that are living here. I also, and if you didn't know about the passport card, I also carry one because it is my proof that I'm an American citizen. Because obviously, if I get stopped by the police and something, I open my mouth and they go, "Are you even American?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." And unless I carry my passport everywhere, which is a pain, I can't prove I'm American. So that's why I got a passport card, because it's just like a driver's license, and it sits in my wallet with my driver's license, and it proves my citizenship. So for any non-Americans living here, the passport card is super cool for proving that you have a right to belong,
I want to know,
as well as getting across the border.
I want to know why all the foreigners who live here used to be named Pat. Like, why are they all ex-Pats? Like, did they not have other names? Why are there no ex-Steves or ex-Lucys or anything like that? Is it just me or?
It's just you.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Carrie Brown, we should do
Yes.
we should read a review for the podcast.
Okay, we'll do that in just a minute. But
Oh.
we have, you asked me, what was happening, and I said there was lots happening, and so
there's more.
One of the things that's happening is I'm going on a road trip tomorrow, and I'm very excited about that. And I'm going on a big long road trip south to California, where hopefully I might see some sunshine, which would be nice because I haven't actually seen the sun for about 6 months now. And another exciting thing is I've been very, very busy in the kitchen creating lots of uber keto things. And the reason for that is that Mr. Williamson and I are writing you a book together.
It's less me and more her, just so if anyone's curious. My participation is very, very, very tiny. So
Brian's participation is critical.
Not so much.
So
Not so
the
much.
reason we're co-authoring it isn't because Brian is going to lay out plates of salami and cheese. No. However, it is going to be it's as yet untitled, but it's going to be a 28-day keto Kickstarter. So this is going to be, if you're brand new to keto, or you've kind of hit a wall, or you've stalled, or you just want to get going again, or there's been a holiday and things went sideways and you want to get back on it for whatever reason, it's going to be a hardcore 28-day. This is how you just kick your body into awesomeness. So Brian is doing all the technical pieces, all the theory and all of that stuff that will make it a lot easier for you to understand if you're brand new to keto. And then there's going to be 105 new uber keto, uber clean recipes, and also meal plans. There's going to be a 28-day meal plan, and then 105 recipes within that meal plan, and then extra ones so that, when you've done, you still have a bunch of awesome new recipes that you can use. So yay! So it's very busy over here in the Ketovangelist Kitchen, and so that's very exciting. Wanted to share.
So that's why I'm saying I'm not really having a part of it, because I'm not writing any of those 100+ recipes. So that's why. That's all Miss Carrie Brown. So there you go. But if you've ever had any of the stuff she makes, it's going to be good. So stay tuned. We'll let you know when you can get your copy. Oh, we're using a publisher this time. Like, there's actually no kidding,
A team.
Yeah, there's like a no joke publisher associated with this thing. This isn't, us doing it on our own. We have we're being held accountable for stuff. It's not exactly comfortable all the time.
The other thing I wanted to point out is that because this is, or I am, it's uber keto. So I've reminded myself over the last couple of weeks how limitations make for awesome creativity. The more boundaries you have, the more limits you have, it actually forces you to be super creative. So I've tried really, really hard with this one to use as few possible weird or new or expensive ingredients. I've also tried to use as few, packet processed things as possible. There's absolutely zero fruit there. I mean, it's really like the hardcore end of keto. And so all of those limitations have actually made me really have to get really, really creative. And I'm having a blast. I had a taste test at my house with the recipes from the sweets chapter last week, and that was a riot. And I'm super excited to bring all these recipes to you, and hopefully it'll be mid-August, which is right before KetoCon, which is the awesome only keto conference ever that's going to be hosted in Austin, Texas at the September 1 to 3. And the book should be ready just a couple of weeks before that.
Right. So we'll have it available there too for all the folks who are going to show up and say hi to Carrie, because Carrie will be there. And Carrie also has a habit of saying hi to people, especially when they say hi first. So there.
Yes. So it's all very exciting here. I'm going on my road trip tomorrow. I'm going to drive down to California and back on my own and speak to no one for 10 days, because I'm going to need all of that energy and recharge to get me through to July when we're due to deliver the book to the publisher. So anyway, it's very exciting.
It's very exciting.
Yes.
It's super exciting times.
Yes. Okay. Now reviews.
Oh, okay. Reviews. Here we go. Now,
moving on. We have new reviews.
You're all over the place. You're just like crazy going like one way, then the next way. That's hard to keep up. So we're reading an iTunes review. If you want to get your review read, all you got to do is write one. Give us a nice review, and Carrie will read it on iTunes. You can do it, either log into your iTunes account on your computer, or you can do it through a podcast app. If you use a podcast app, you can leave a review that way. So what are we reading today?
We're going to read the review that Big Yogi left. He entitles it "Love This Phantasmic Podcast" and gave us 5 stars. And it's so sweet that I have to read it. And it made me smile. Anyway, so Big Yogi says, such a wonderful resource to help you learn more about how to cook and eat keto. Funny, endearing, and entertaining. Brian's juvenile dad humor plays off of the incredible Carrie Brown, as if Brian is the Lou Costello to Carrie's Abbott, the Laurel to her Hardy, the Shemp to Carrie's Moe. Carrie is a genius in the culinary arts and is now replacing that Martha Stewart lady on my island dream list. Seriously, this was the piece I just absolutely made me smile. Seriously, Carrie could probably MacGyver a 5-star Michelin meal with a couple of coconuts, a seagull, and a pile of seaweed. And Brian can drop some serious salami knowledge, trying to figure out how to adapt some of the knowledge to my situation. I am an OTR truck driver, so do a lot of this stuff, take some MacGyvering of my own. Love you guys. Keep it up. Maybe I should send Carrie a trucker's lunchbox oven to see what she could come up with. Yeah,
that would be kind of cool. All right, so that was Big Yogi. Is that right?
That was Big Yogi.
Thanks, Big Yogi. Yeah, so Carrie, I have a question. You might know the answer to this, Carrie Brown, because I think I do, but I could be wrong. Does Michelin actually do 5 stars? Because I thought they only went up to 3.
They do. It's Well, unless they've changed it. It was 3 last time I looked, but that was a while ago.
Well, I think then what he's saying is you could force Michelin to add
with an extra 2 stars.
2 extra stars is what I'm saying. What I think he's saying. So, way to go, Big Yogi. And
that really made my day when I read it. That really made my day. A couple of coconuts, a seagull, and a pile of seaweed.
That sounds about like what she has in her backyard. Really. So if you want to hear Carrie read a review, leave a review on iTunes, either through your iTunes account, make sure you're logged in, or through a podcast app, and she'll read it, and you can hear your review read in Carrie's fantastic British accent. Do you do any other accents? Have I asked you this already? Can you do a French accent?
No.
Okay. So it's going to be basically in Carrie Brown's British accent is all you're going to do. Like you don't do
Carrie Brown's British accent, because Carrie Brown's British accent is probably not like anybody else's British accent anymore, because I'm kind of an accent mutt now, having lived in England,
America.
obviously Canada, Australia, and now here for a long time. So I'm a bit confused in the accent department.
Well, I can tell you right now, you don't sound like you're from around here. So that's really all
Still.
that's important. Yeah. Okay. So there you go. Now, what are we going to be talking about today?
We are going to do some listener questions.
Listener questions. Okay, so it's been a while since we did some listener questions.
It is, and we actually asked, or you asked, for listener questions 2 months ago, and we've been so busy talking about leeks and tarragon and salami and other wildly exciting things like konjac flour that we didn't catch up on the listener questions that we asked for.
And today we are going to catch up on that, right?
We are. We may not get to them all because there was a lot, but we will have a good stab at knocking off.
Yeah, there'll be some repeats too. We'll skip some because they're asking basically the same question that someone else has asked. So, all right. So I guess we're starting at the top. What do you want to go ahead and start?
Right. So, and this one is for, and even though we posed the question in the kitchen, there were some kind of general keto things. So those Brian's going to take, and then I'll do the food ones. So the first one is Misty Day wanted to know what they are doing wrong. She says, my boyfriend is doing everything right. We eat the same foods. My blood ketones are over 1 and his are 0.2. He has significantly less body fat than me. What are we doing wrong?
Okay, so first question is, why do you think that you're doing something wrong? Now, if you're saying that you're trying to get to a certain level, okay, that may be the case, but just like we've talked about before, don't chase ketone readings is really kind of the point. Just because
don't be a purple ketone chaser.
Right. Well, they're using blood. So
right.
that gets a little grosser. So the thing is what your blood ketone levels tell you is what you have available to you. So it could very well be that he burns through ketones faster, which is why it doesn't show up as much, which could mean, so if you follow what I'm saying, he's in the same quote unquote level of ketosis as you are. He's just using what's available to him at a faster rate. It also depends on, are you guys measuring at the same time of day? Are you guys measuring at the same time after meals? Is it consistent? That kind of thing. So I'm going to say you're not necessarily doing anything. He's not necessarily doing anything wrong. His physiology is a little bit different. And if he wanted to increase the reading of his blood ketone levels, my recommendation would be to add some MCT oil to his daily regimen, because that'll do it. So that's what I've got.
Isn't there also something about hydration that could alter that significantly?
That's if they're measuring through the ketones that you were talking about before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But since they're actually drawing blood, they're phlebotomizing themselves, then it's all about, blood.
All right. Debbie Frederick Rizzo has another question for Brian. I've read about ketosis giving you bad breath and wondering if that is a temporary thing and what you recommend to counteract it.
It is temporary, and you can't. Basically, the bad breath is ketone breakdown. There's 3 kinds of ketone bodies. The breakdown product is a ketone body. It's called acetone. It's the same exact stuff that you see in nail polish remover, and that's the primary culprit for the keto breath. This, of course, assumes that you didn't have bad breath prior to. No judgment, just saying. But if you're referring specifically to ketone breath, you can't really do anything about it. You can try to put some gum or some mints in your mouth, but that's only going to mask it. It will go away once your body kind of adapts to that a little bit. And I mean, that's really all you can do. There's not a whole lot. You just kind of have to ride it out, really. Now they do, and I talked about this on a different podcast, a listener question podcast. They do sell not mouthwash, but it's a mouth deodorant that it counteracts the sulfur content in your system, and people have tried that, and I haven't heard that it works terribly well with the ketone stuff because it's not sulfur based, the ketone bodies. But you might consider that as well. But really, I mean, just stay far away from people if it bothers you or bothers them, and you just kind of got to ride it out. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Sandra, I'm going to probably butcher your middle name. Sandra Hinosa Ludwig asks, what is your recommendation in IF, which is intermittent fasting, 18-6, by which she means 18 hours fasting, 6 hours feasting, with sometimes a month going longer. So her question is, what's your recommendation for intermittent fasting? And then query 18-6 with sometimes a month going longer.
So is this for me?
Yes.
My recommendation for intermittent fasting is whatever works with your schedule. So if 18-6 with sometimes going longer works for you, fantastic. There's no requirement for intermittent fasting. It's, as I've said before, keto has IF built into it because your hormones will change and your appetite will drop. So you'll naturally not be as inclined to eat as frequently. So if fasting is something that you're interested in, you gotta just experiment and find what works for you. There is no like baseline. There's no, magic number. It's just, it's what works for you. So that's, and I just want to comment, it's Hinojosa is her middle name.
Thank you.
Living in Texas, that helps. So anyway,
there had to be some benefit.
There's a tremendous amount of benefit to living in Texas. What is not a benefit to living in Texas? I love mountains, and there ain't none. I mean, now there are in some very West Texas, very, very West Texas, very, very, very West Texas. There's some, but not really. And you can't live out there.
Well, when you come to Seattle in 10 days, not that I'm counting, not that I'm excited or anything, but when you do, we kind of live in a bowl. Seattle is in a bowl surrounded by huge mountains everywhere. So you're going to love that piece.
Yes, I've seen pictures. I'm anticipating enjoying just staring at things that are in the sky or touching the sky or whatever. Yeah,
Seattle is a veritable mountain fest. I'm not sure that everybody realizes that, but yes, I mean, like enormous mountains surrounding us. It's awesome.
Dibs on the band
and
name.
Lots of volcanoes. Lots and lots of volcanoes.
Dibs on the band name Mountain Fest. Just
Mountain Fest.
Yeah.
All right.
Just saying. All right. What's the next question?
Okay. So, Carlie Pownell asked.
I know her.
You do know her. She's a good egg. She does adminning stuff in the Facebook groups.
Yes.
We love her for that. Her question was vegetable glycerin. How do you use it?
I'm a little curious about this myself.
So, vegetable glycerin is often used in makeup products and soap making.
That sounds
but
delicious.
Don't let that put you off.
Right.
So vegetable glycerin is a magical thing that is used. It's a sugar alcohol. So that's basically what it is. I know it's also called glycerol, which is, the ol for the sugar alcohol. Mm-hmm. So it's fine for keto. Typically it's made out of a bunch of vegetables, but it has no carbs and it doesn't spike your insulin or anything. It is sweet. I use it in very specific applications, so I don't use it a lot, but it's super handy when I do. One of the main uses for glycerin is that it's a humectant, which, if you don't know what that means, is it grabs onto water. It attracts moisture. So it keeps things wetter than if it wasn't there. Vegetable glycerin is incredibly good at helping things to stop freezing because it lowers the freezing point. You'll also find, and this, people get a bit freaked out when they go up to Wikipedia or whatever and look up glycerin or glycerol and find out that they put it in antifreeze, right? So it's not, like drinking antifreeze, but they do use glycerol for that same thing because it lowers the freezing point, so it stops things from freezing. So that's one super useful thing for glycerin. It helps to, I don't know if it stabilize is the right word, but I can't think of a better one. When you're working with sugar alcohols, glycerin will help you to get a better result. It will help to stop crystallization of other sugar alcohols like erythritol or xylitol. So I do use it. It's a texture thing. It'll help with texture of certain things that you put it in. I use it in my chocolate truffles because 100% chocolate, i.e. chocolate with no sugar in it, is very difficult to work with. It's just tricky because not having any sugar, the whole texture melting thing just changes because there's no sugar there. Glycerol will help with the texture of things that you make with 100% chocolate. It helps things to not freeze. And if you think about it in terms of it has an ability to make things moister, hold on to water, then I hope that'll help you to understand when would be a good time to use it.
Aren't there different grades of glycerol? Or am I remembering that? Or glycerin incorrect?
So you should just look for whatever glycerin you buy. Look for it'll have food grade written on it. So you just want to look for one that's food grade, because as I say, its main uses are soap making and cosmetics. So just look for food grade. It's actually very easy to find. You won't find it in you probably won't find it in grocery stores, but you will find it in almost any pharmacy or chemist in England and Australia. Most pharmacies will carry it, but you'll want to look in the beauty department because that's probably where it'll be, or just go to the pharmacist and ask for food grade glycerin and they'll be able to point you to it. If you're looking for a brand, and if you want to use Amazon rather than going to the pharmacy, I use Now Brand. Now Brand is food grade. Of course, because I'm Carrie Brown, I buy it in gallons, and I forget the brand I use, but I buy 2-gallon drums of the stuff because I get through a lot of it when I'm developing recipes. But if you just want a smaller one, the Now Brand I think it's 16-ounce food grade glycerin, very reasonable price, good stuff. So, but you also may find that Now Brand is the brand in your pharmacist. If you pop round to the pharmacist and ask for food grade glycerin, they'll point you there.
Okay. All right. I think that's thoroughly answered.
So that was vegetable glycerin. So Peggy Dunn, and actually I got into a conversation with Peggy after she asked her question, which was not resolved, but I'm going to give a stab at this anyway. Peggy says, I like to batch cook and freeze in portion sizes for lunches or quick dinners. I haven't been happy with the defrosted creamy dishes, soups, casseroles. Is there a trick to make them more freezer friendly? So I asked Peggy, can you describe what's making you unhappy with them? And she said the sauces/soups don't taste as creamy. And I asked her, what's the texture like? And I don't think she saw my question because she didn't respond. So I'm going to say generally, and again, I can only talk with 110% certainty about my own recipes, which Peggy's not talking about. So I'll have a stab at saying that the reason she's not happy is because a lot of soups have a lot of water in them. So the more water there is, or stock, because stock is essentially water, or of course not in our case milk, because we don't tend to use milk, but the more water there is in it, the less creamy it's going to be once you've defrosted it after it's frozen. And the icier it's going to freeze. My best 2 tips for preventing that is, if it's obviously they're creamy, is add a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of guar gum to your soup or casserole at the end, because guar gum will help it a lot to not freeze so icy. And the other thing is, so obviously you do that before you freeze it, then that should improve the texture once it's defrosted. But the other thing, if it's not a lumpy soup, I would recommend after you've defrosting it, just reblend it. Because what happens is the when it's frozen, the water, it turns to ice, but it kind of separates out from the other things in the soup. So by reblending it, you can actually kind of recreate the emulsion, which makes it seem smoother and creamier. So if it's a soup or a sauce that you're not going to ruin, blend all the lumps that are meant to be there. Like, I mean, say you have quartered mushrooms in there that you want to leave as mushrooms, then you won't be able to reblend that. But if it's a purely liquid, creamy sauce or soup, I would recommend defrosting it and then reblend it so that you recreate the emulsion, which will give you that creamy taste and feel again.
All right. There you go.
So, and Peggy, please, if you're listening, and you can go back to that post, you can find the post by searching #listener questions and help me understand what your texture is like. Then maybe I can help you more specifically, but I hope those 2 tricks will help generally with your freezing of creamy soups and sauces.
And if you're not listening, so there.
Yeah. And maybe if you know Peggy, maybe if she's not listening, maybe you could flag her. Because I'd like to help her more specifically.
This is a Peggy APB.
Yes, this is a Peggy Dunn APB, because I'd love to help you more than that, but without data, it's hard. So, Stephanie Trammell. Stephanie Trammell is a very, very prolific commenter and poster and an avid Ketovangelist Facebook grouper. Yay, Stephanie. Stephanie wants to know, do chicken feet make for good bone broth? And I was very thankful that Barbara Hanson, one of our other lovely Facebookers, responded absolutely, because I know what the answer should be, but I don't know in actuality because I've never done it myself. I've never tried to make good bone broth out of chicken feet. Barbara Hanson said absolutely. So but that makes sense because chicken feet are all the bits that are crammed with collagen and all the things that make bone broth good. That's what chicken feet are. The bones, the skin, the tendony bits, all of that is what gives bone broth its magical nutritional properties. So absolutely, if you have access to chicken feet, go ahead and make yourself a big old pot of bone broth. Easiest way to make bone broth is in your crock pot.
The only thing that I would add to that is there's probably better things to use for bone broth, but if experience tells me anything, it'll totally work.
Right.
My dad used to make. My dad is a Southern fella. Like he was born and raised in the southern states of the United States, and being that he basically was poor his entire life, they ate what they had, and what they ate a lot of was ham hocks, and those are cheap cuts of meat, and they go a long way if you cook them right. And growing up, he would set on a pot of ham hocks and basically make ham hock broth over the weekend, and it's essentially the same thing.
Right. I mean, I would not go out of my way to search for chicken feet in order to make bone broth.
Right, because of the toenails, right? I mean, let's be honest.
But if you happen to have some, or you
just insulted
some, or they're available, or they're like 10 cents a pound, or they're super cheap, or whatever, go ahead. But I wouldn't go out of my way to track down chicken feet in order to make bone broth. You just
insulted Stephanie Trammell by saying that she has chicken feet. I'm just saying that wasn't very nice. Stephanie, I would just like to say that Carrie didn't mean anything by that. I'm sure
Stephanie knows I love her because we interact a lot on Facebook. So Stephanie is not confused about the fact that I did not say she had chicken feet.
I'm just saying I'm sure that her feet are fine.
I know they are.
Don't feel self-conscious about your feet, Stephanie. Don't let Carrie get into your head that way.
Moving on.
Oh, okay, moving on. Here we go.
Yesenia Cortez would like to know, what can I make with coconut flour?
Can I answer one of those things?
You can answer that entirely.
I was going to say what you can't make with it, and I was going to rattle off a list of things. One,
go.
You cannot You cannot make a house. You cannot make a 1972 Volkswagen Beetle. You cannot make a vacation trip to El Salvador. You cannot make a shrubbery. So now I'm not saying that if you're trying to make one of those something that is not one of those things that it'll work, but I'm just saying those are things you can't make. I'm done now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks. We value your input, Brian.
Spoken like a true British customer service representative. All right. So what can you make with coconut flour? That's kind of a loaded question, isn't it? Or
that's just so I kind of look at that question and I keep going, I just want to move on to the next question because what I will say is that in my experience, coconut flour is very difficult to work with. It's temperamental. It soaks up water like blotting paper. If you don't know what blotting paper is, you'll have to listen to our previous podcast to find out, because I share the intricacies of blotting paper on one of the previous episodes. It tastes coconutty.
No, it tastes like blotting paper too.
It tastes like coconut flavored blotting paper. And it's not that I'm not a fan. It's just that it's a lot more difficult to work with. And recipe, you can't switch coconut flour out with either regular flour or with almond flour. You have to work with recipes that have been developed specifically for coconut flour. So look for good, well, how do you know they're good until they work? Find some people who have some tried, workable coconut flour recipes that they've had success with. It's not my area of expertise because it's just not something, and it could be if I'd focused on it, but I think there's a lot of ingredients that I would focus on before I would focus on coconut flour because they're easier. You'll get better results. You'll get easier results. You'll get more tastier results. So I just, it's not been at the top of my list of things to do because my main goal in life is to help you become rock stars in the kitchen and to have delicious food. And I don't think coconut is one of the easiest ways to help you to get there. So yeah. I will. I mean, it's on my list of things to do, but I think there's easier ways to get delicious foods, keto foods into your life than struggling with coconut flour.
So just in case you don't know, in case someone doesn't know, coconut flour is essentially, it's the meat of the coconut. Once basically the coconut oil and milk and liquid has been extracted, they desiccate the rest of the meat and they finally chop it up. And that's coconut flour is what it is. So it's basically dehydrated coconut meat. So the reason it absorbs water so much is because you're adding back liquid that was taken out of it. A lot of people use it in baking stuff, and they overuse it, and it doesn't exactly have the best track record from my experience. It's very heavy. Right. It's very heavy. It doesn't translate very well to a lot of things. I will say that I have used it before whenever I'm making chicken nuggets or chicken tenders of some kind, using an egg wash with some coconut flour that has salt and pepper in it and grated Parmesan cheese as well, using that to coat the strips of chicken and then deep frying them that way. That has worked out reasonably okay. But again, a big portion of that is making sure you have a good egg wash too. Because it really won't stick if you just try it, just try like a dusting of the stuff onto the chicken.
The other thing I'll say is that I have seen people, when the what can I use to thicken question comes up, some people say coconut flour. I would absolutely very strongly advise you against wasting coconut flour and the entire rest of the contents of your dinner trying to thicken with coconut flour. And I know it absorbs a lot of water, but it still is not a good thickener. It's very hit and miss. And I have trialed hundreds of gallons of sauce specifically to discover what the best keto thickener is. And the results with coconut flour were very hit and miss. Sometimes it thickened, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes it's not fine. So you get a grain. So if you want a really smooth sauce, coconut flour is not your friend because it's grainy. You can still taste the grain on your tongue. So one, that's a fail for me. Two, the fact that it doesn't always work makes it a fail for me because I want you to be successful every single time and I want you to have consistent results. You won't have that if you try and use coconut flour as a thickener. You'll also, as I say, get the grain, which is not what we want in a sauce. You also get the flavor depending on what brand of coconut. So if nothing else, please don't try and use coconut flour as a thickener because you will probably be disappointed and that will make me sad.
And nobody wants that.
No.
All right. Next question then.
So, So Jessica Braun asked about IF. Oh no, this is a different. So it was to do with IF, but the question was, when I'm completing a fast, are there foods that are better to eat than others to replenish the body and be easier on it? My concern is that I'm having bowel issues after not having eaten for a while and then eating a standard meal with great macros and stopping when satiated. So do you have anything to say about, is there something better to eat?
Yes.
After a fast.
So it clearly it's going to depend on the amount of time that you spend fasting. She says that she spends 24 to 48 hours fasting and then she eats, and that's fine. My recommendation is forget worrying about macros when you're coming off of a fast that's extended, and I'll say a 48-hour fast is an extended fast. Other people may disagree with me. That's fine. But for the sake of this context, I'm going to say that a 48-hour fast is something that you want to pay attention to Not worrying about macros. What you want to have is a small meal to break your fast, not a full blown thing. Bone broth is a great way to do that, and some people say they drink bone broth while they're fasting. I don't. To me, either you are eating or you are not. That means you are either fasting or you are not. It's binary. You don't have to agree with that. That's fine. I don't care. But if you're coming off of a sort of an extended fast, you don't want to overwhelm your system. So yes, this is going to get a little gross maybe. But the reason that this happens is when you stop eating, when you go into a fast, your body is basically holding on to all of the things that it knows has nutritional value, and that includes potential waste products, right? So the stuff that's in your digestive tract is going to slow way down because nothing's coming in, so it's got to maximize what it's getting out of what it's got in there already. So basically, when you take a big meal after that, that signals your digestive tract, all right, purge. And this is why Jessica's talking about having, experiencing that. So if instead you break your fast with some coffee with a little bit of fat in it, or some bone broth, or my particular favorite, a couple of slices of salami and a slice of cheese or something like that, a small meal, and then let that kind of sit for a while and let your body get used to the fact that you're now ingesting stuff. Then you can go worry about having a full blown meal with quote unquote great macros, if that makes sense. That's my answer. That's my answer.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you for that. My one addition to that is don't break your fast with coffee.
All right. So,
and I'll just leave it there.
Right.
And if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. And if you don't, just trust me that don't break your fast with coffee.
Well, there we go. So Carrie says don't do that.
And especially don't break your fast with coffee that has MCT oil or butter or heavy cream. If you are planning on leaving the house shortly thereafter, don't do that.
There you go. That's words from...
You may fill in the blanks on that one, or you may try it and see if I'm right.
From the sound of it, you literally will fill in the blanks if you do that. So,
one more.
Maybe
two more.
Okay.
So, Bo, who we've mentioned on this podcast before, because Bo's favorite podcast is Cows Part 1.
Okay.
So, and Bo's another regular on the Facebook. So, hi, Bo. Bo says, wait. I hate veggies and I hate eating them. Are they necessary? I mean, animals eat veggies and we eat them. Doesn't that count?
So this is Bo Olmsted. Bo Sofan Olmsted, right?
Yes.
And Bo's talking my language right now. And I will say this. No. It does not. They are not necessary. Period. Eat the meat. The food I eat eats vegetables. Therefore, the transitive property of nutrition takes over. That's all I'm saying. Now, your turn.
So.
Now the expert gets to chime in now. Yeah. So.
I love vegetables. I love eating them. Are they necessary? No.
What?
However, if you love eating them, eat them.
Yeah, I will say that.
Stick with the lower carb ones, obviously. I mean, you don't want to be, you absolutely don't want to be munching on potatoes or,
right.
The other rooty, starchy vegetables. That's not what I'm saying. But let's assume that we're talking about keto vegetables. So the green, non-starchy end of things. If you haven't listened to previous podcasts, I love lettuce. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
But I feel, and this is a Carrie Brown thing, I feel better when I eat greens. I just do. Everything moves better, going back to the coffee discussion just now.
Yeah.
Everything moves better. I feel better when I eat vegetables. And so I do. And I'm sure there's other people alive who I know because in the Facebook group, they say, can I eat veggies because I feel better when I eat them or I enjoy them? Absolutely. The keto non-starchy veggies, if you love them, if you enjoy them, if you feel better, go for it. Absolutely go for it. But if you hate them and you hate eating them and, they don't make you happy, but you don't feel bad without them, then don't eat them.
I couldn't agree more. I have to make a confession too. I don't know. Some people may know this from some of the other stuff that I've said on different podcasts, but I actually am married to a vegetable lover. I don't know if this is the first time the public is hearing this, but my wife, I don't know if I should be saying this out loud. My wife loves vegetables. I don't. And it's taken me quite a while, several years, to get used to that fact, but we're adjusting and we're working through it. So she loves vegetables and she eats as many as she can.
Wait, what? So, you're adjusting? You have grandchildren.
Yeah. So.
You've been married to Sherry for 500 years and you have hordes of baby Williamsons and then baby Williamsons. Adjusting?
It's a slow process. I just, we're taking it day by day, and we're trying.
I love Sherry more and more. I've never met her, and every time you talk about her or I see her post on Facebook, I'm like more and more excited to meet her.
She is a hoot. I will say that.
I can tell. I'm super excited for 10 days when you guys come stay with me. I just can't even tell you.
So we'll be staying at Carrie's place as we're prepping to go on this cruise, and there'll be food, obviously. And my suspicion is that Sherry and Carrie will collaborate on eating all the vegetables, and I'll get it to eat all of the non-vegetable foods, and everyone will be happy. That's my dream anyway. Now I will say this.
My goal is that y'all will be happy. All of you. All people that ever come to my house, my number one goal is that you'll leave happy. So.
I don't doubt that at all. Sherry, however, I will say this, let's be honest. She can put a hurtin' on a steak too. No doubt at all. Like she loves eating steak too, which is, I'll be honest, it's one of the reasons that she passed the initial test. The questionnaire. I was a vegan when we met, I think, or at least a vegetarian.
You are very welcome to fire up my grill when you, because I mean, it's enormous. I could sleep in it. It's so big. And so I never use it because
that seems uncomfortable,
because I'm a girl and it's a grill and that's a boy thing. And I have no idea how to hook up the gas and, So have at it. I'm happy to buy the cow.
Buy the cow. Right. Yeah. So I have a feeling there'll be quite a bit of food being consumed when we're going to your place. But so my point is that Sherry will definitely enjoy any of the vegetables that you put in front of her. And I will enjoy any of the vegetables that you put in front of her too. Just so we're clear. All right. We doing one more or are we done?
One more.
Okay.
And I'm going to, actually, Amanda has two questions.
Amanda Fowler?
And Amanda Fowler. And I'm going to answer the second one.
Okay.
And the second one is, I've heard that nuts and nut flours can cause people to stall in weight loss. Is that true? And if so, would almond milk also be something that would cause someone to stall? And again, this is almost all the questions we get are around the gray things. And this is another gray thing.
Right.
And the answer is some people do stall if they eat too many nuts. If that's you, cut back on the nuts or stop eating them altogether.
Right. I couldn't agree more.
If that's not you, have at it. I think the thing with nuts and nut flours is that it is incredibly easy to mindlessly overeat nuts. And although we don't count calories, they are very calorically dense. So it's very, very easy to eat a huge amount of nuts in a very short space of time. Things that baked goods that are made with almond flour, for example, incredibly easy to just keep on eating them. So you may find that it's just too many nuts stalled you. That it's not the nuts in themselves; it's more the quantity of nuts. But that's something that's very individual, and you're going to have to figure out. You're going to have to tweak if you stall. Nuts is one of the things that you will want to stop to see if that was the culprit. But as I say, I doubt it's the nuts themselves. It's probably the quantity of nuts. But there's no right or wrong answer in the nut department. It's one of those individual things that you have to tweak for yourself.
Yeah, the thing is, it's just like dairy. Like people ask, hey, should I give up dairy? And my answer is I don't know. But if you think it's a problem, yes, and see what happens.
Right.
And if it turns out,
there's no harm lost in okay, I'm just not going to eat nuts for a month and see what happens.
Right. Yeah, and then
bring it back if you find that it doesn't make a difference. Then bring them back, and then go off dairy for a month and see what happens. You're not losing or gaining, or there's no harm in testing things out like that to see. And if you eliminate dairy for a month, there's no. You can go back to it. It's not a forever thing. You can test and tweak with keto to find, your groove without it having to be, you can never eat this again.
Now, to address the question about almond milk, that's going to be basically in the same sort of family, right? Because
you do want to make sure that the almond milk you're buying is unsweetened, because there's a billion different, of course, flavors and types of almond milk. So you do want to make sure it's unsweetened, and you also want to make sure it's got as few other things in it as possible, or make your own.
Right. So for folks who don't know, almond milk is made by basically grinding up almonds in like a blender or a food processor with some water, and then straining out the meat, the
liquid.
So just separating the liquid, and that liquid is what you drink. So that almond milk, quote unquote milk, is basically just water and very fine particulate almond matter. So it's essentially the same thing as eating almonds. So good point. Make sure you get one that's what if you're buying it? Make sure you get the unsweetened kind, because that's a definitely no. But then again, if you find out, if you cut it out and you start, the stall gets broken, then, it's likely that was one of the culprits. So you got to make a decision at that point. I think that's a sufficient answer to that. So, so I guess we're done with listener questions. So you know what that means, right?
Can I just have 30 seconds?
You have go.
Back up on the reviews. I just noticed a review from Big John Mac 87. And okay. I just wanted to clarify for Big John Mac 87. He says he loves the podcast and gave us 5 stars, but I just wanted to make sure, John, that you were not confused about meat buying. He says, great podcast, very informative, and love the accent. However, the last episode about buying in bulk, how she did it in this episode is very unrealistic to the working class person. I would need a loan to buy 700 pounds of meat. Yes, Big John Mac 87, so would I. And I did not actually buy 700 pounds of meat, and I was not advocating for buying 700 pounds of meat. That was that was in reference to a crazy text conversation that Brian and I had while I was at the grocery store. And the comment about 700 pounds of meat was a massive exaggeration on my part.
You were being hyperbolic.
I was being ridiculously hyperbolic, and I'm very sorry if I didn't make that clear in that podcast episode. Confusion is not what Brian and I aspire to. So I do apologize. Would never advocate buying 700 pounds of meat. And that wasn't my point.
Just to be clear on this point, I would just like to point out that was my response too when I got the text, that because I would not put it past Carrie that she actually did buy 700 pounds of meat. So it wasn't, it's not just you, Big John. I was also like, really? And she was, of course, this is Carrie. She's, of course, going to go run with it instead of saying no, as being hyperbolic. She's dragging it out, and she's continuing to goad me until she finally made her point of, no, idiot, I didn't buy 700 pounds of meat. So she has a habit of doing this. She's going to get you if you let her. I'm just saying.
So I do apologize. You're genuinely apologizing, John, that I did not intend to mislead you. All right. Sometimes my British humor gets lost on some people because I have this brilliant deadpan face and deadpan expression, and I can say things and people are just like, wow, really? And I'm like, no. So I'm sorry. I apologize.
British. Very British. Very, very British. Okay. All right. So then, you know what that means then?
Yes.
All right. Motivation Monday.
Woo!
Motivation Monday. What's our motivation today?
When you stop chasing the wrong things, you give the right things a chance to catch you.
When you stop chasing the wrong things, you give the right things the chance to catch you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So how's that hit you?
This is very deep to me. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I overthink most things, but I think I'm doing a good job here because I don't think it's, to me, when I read that, I think things don't catch you.
Okay.
You determine kind of what comes into your life or not. So things catching you doesn't really gel with me, but the point about this is that I think if you're focused on the wrong things, you allow the right things to happen.
Say that again. If you're focused on the
wrong things. So if you're focused on, for example, what other people think of you,
okay,
you're not focused on yourself and comparing yourself to yourself, and therefore you're not doing the things that will bring the positive change to you.
Okay.
If you stop focusing, for example, or stop chasing the wrong things, i.e. other people's opinion of you, and start focusing on comparing yourself with you and your opinion of you, then you're opening up the possibility that you can work and make progress and make your own life better. So that gives you the chance for all the right things to come in, to catch you, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, to me, very similar. It's, if you stop focusing on the wrong things, you'd be surprised at what's available to you because you've been ignoring it, right? Like you've missed the opportunities that have been presenting themselves because you've been focused on all the wrong things, like focusing on the end result as opposed to the process, right? You're missing out on all the chances of you to actually improve and enjoy things. That's how I'm taking it. So
right, and another example, specifically to do with keto or reaching our goals, is that a lot of people are chasing a number on the scale.
Yeah.
But if you stop focusing on a number on the scale, which has no real meaning, and start focusing on only eating the good for you foods, you'll actually have a better chance of reaching your goals.
Yeah, I agree. Complètement. That was French, by the way, in case you were wondering.
Did that make sense?
Yeah, read it one more time. Read the statement one more time.
When you stop chasing the wrong things, you give the right things a chance to catch you.
All right. So this week, think about that. What is your focus? Where is it? Is it constructive or is it destructive? And if it's destructive, change it and realize that you have things around you that are beneficial and helpful. All right. Does that do it for our Motivation Monday then?
Yes.
Okay, so that's the whole show. Now, we're going to have to do another listener questions to finish off the questions we didn't get to today due to time constraints. Okay, so if you're listening to this right now, then you can look forward to that soon. All right, so what's the final word then? What's the final word? We got a cookbook coming out in a couple of months. We've got KetoCon coming out in a couple of months. And you're going on a road trip.
And Brian and Sherry are coming to stay with me.
Yes.
And I'm excited enough for all three of us.
That is true. That's true. That's a very true statement. It's not that we're not excited. It's that there's just a lot of crap to do.
And I'm probably going to embarrass the daylights out of you at the airport. Just advance warning. Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, I hate to like present a challenge, but I don't really get embarrassed too hard. Like
okay, good. So better.
That's not me saying, "Oh, I don't think so." It's just, I'm just saying.
I'm going to be incorrigibly excitable at the airport.
Fantastic. Now it's good.
Yes, I knew that would thrill you.
It's good that you've given me plenty of time to get used to the
idea. See, you've got time to adjust now.
Right.
To prepare mentally.
Well, I've got time to question some choices that I've made in my life over the recent past. But anyway, all right. So there you go. That'll do it. This is another episode. I guess I'll talk to you next week.
Possibly.
Right.
If I don't get lost in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, that's always a possibility. Well, in that case, drive safe and don't get lost.
Where's the fun in that?
I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you.
Okay.
All right. Well, then we'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All right, that's another successful trip to the kitchen. We got some questions answered. We got more coming. Stay tuned for more about the cookbook that Carrie's writing and that I'm in a very, very small way helping out with. There'll be more. If you want to connect with us, you can find us. We're on the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the KETOvangelists everywhere. KETOVangelist Kitchen, KETOVan Kitchen on Twitter, KETOVangelist Kitchen on Instagram, KETOVangelist Kitchen group on the Facebook. So there you go. And until next time, you peoples, keep being awesome. Powered by ketones.